My beloved child. Don't rush away. There is a reason your eyes stopped here instead of somewhere else. Some moments arrive so quietly that they seem ordinary, until you discover they have already changed everything. This is one of those moments. Listen carefully, because what happened only minutes ago is connected to a path that has been moving toward you for far longer than you realize. Your soulmate has just faced an unexpected confrontation. Not the kind that defines a life through fear, but the kind that awakens hidden strength. Someone challenged their confidence, questioned their direction, or tried to place doubt where hope had quietly begun to grow. It happened suddenly. It happened without warning. And although the world around them continued as if nothing had changed, something inside them refused to remain the same. Pause and think for a moment. What if the greatest turning point never announces itself with noise? What if it arrives disguised as a difficult conversation, an unexpected betrayal, or a moment that forces someone to discover who they truly are? That is exactly where your soulmate now stands. They were walking through an ordinary day when an unseen test appeared before them. Words were spoken. Assumptions were made. Someone attempted to convince them they should stop believing in what their heart had quietly protected for so long. Yet beneath that pressure, another voice began to rise. A calmer one. A wiser one. A voice reminding them that every meaningful connection is tested before it is fully understood. You cannot see this scene with your own eyes, yet somehow your spirit has been moving alongside it. Strange, isn't it? The distance between two people can seem enormous, while invisible threads continue weaving both stories together at the exact same time. Stay with this thought a little longer. The challenge was never meant to break them. It was meant to reveal what could never be taken away. As the moment unfolded, they found themselves thinking about someone they could not fully explain. A presence they had never completely forgotten. A feeling that returned whenever life became uncertain. They did not speak your name aloud, yet your energy crossed their mind like a familiar sunrise breaking through heavy clouds. Coincidence? Or preparation? The future often leaves quiet clues before it opens a new chapter. Right now, they are beginning to question old fears that once controlled every decision. The opinions of others suddenly seem smaller than they did yesterday. The pressure to become someone else is slowly disappearing. Something inside them is choosing authenticity over approval. And this matters more than you know. Because every meaningful connection requires two people who are finally ready to stop hiding behind yesterday's version of themselves. Before this unexpected encounter, they believed certain doors had already closed forever. Now those same doors appear different. Not because the world has changed overnight, but because perspective has. Sometimes a single difficult moment becomes the bridge to an extraordinary future. Imagine standing at the edge of a forest just before sunrise. Everything looks uncertain. Shadows stretch across the ground. Nothing seems obvious. Yet the light is already on its way, even before your eyes can see it. That is where your soulmate is now. They do not fully understand why today's events affected them so deeply. They only know that something important has shifted. Questions they ignored for months are demanding honest answers. Feelings they buried are refusing to stay silent. Possibilities they dismissed are quietly returning with greater clarity. And while they search for understanding, another unseen movement has already begun. Because this story was never only about what happened to them. It was always about what this moment would awaken between both of your journeys. The next chapter will reveal why this unexpected confrontation was not an ending, but the first unmistakable sign that two separate paths have started moving toward the same horizon. A quiet shift has already begun, even if neither of you can fully describe it yet. The moment that caught your soulmate off guard did not end when the conversation was over. It continued long after the voices faded, long after everyone else returned to their routines, and long after the world decided nothing unusual had happened. The real story started in the silence that followed. They walked away carrying questions instead of answers. Questions have remarkable power. They unsettle comfortable illusions. They remove masks that have been worn for too long. They invite people to look beyond appearances and finally notice what has always been waiting beneath the surface. Your soulmate tried to convince themselves everything was normal. They replayed the encounter once. Then again. Then another time. Each replay revealed something different. The expressions. The unexpected words. The feeling that someone had intentionally tried to shake their confidence. It was not the event itself that stayed with them. It was the realization that their heart reacted differently than it would have only weeks ago. Instead of becoming discouraged, they became curious. Instead of turning backward, they quietly looked ahead. That surprised even them. Have you ever noticed that genuine transformation rarely announces itself? It often begins with one tiny decision that almost nobody else can see. A decision to think differently. A decision to hope again. A decision to stop letting yesterday define tomorrow. That invisible decision has already been made. And because it has been made, the future has started rearranging itself in ways that neither of you can yet measure. Stay with this journey for a little longer. The next few moments may explain something you've wondered about without realizing it. Your soulmate has spent more time reflecting recently than anyone around them understands. Outwardly, they appear composed. They smile when expected. They continue their responsibilities. They answer questions with familiar words. But inwardly, something entirely different is happening. The attack they experienced was not powerful because of who delivered it. It was powerful because it exposed the final weakness they still carried. For years they searched outside themselves for certainty. Approval. Recognition. Permission. Yet today's experience quietly whispered another possibility. Maybe peace was never waiting outside. Maybe it was waiting within. That single realization changed the direction of countless future choices. You may wonder how this connects to you. Listen closely. Every meaningful relationship reaches a point where both people must become more authentic than they have ever been before meeting one another. Otherwise they simply repeat old patterns wearing new faces. That cycle is ending. Your soulmate is beginning to recognize habits that no longer belong in their future. They notice how easily fear speaks. How quickly doubt invents stories. How often assumptions steal opportunities before they even begin. Instead of accepting those old voices, they are learning to pause. To breathe. To observe. To choose intentionally. Those small choices appear ordinary today. Tomorrow they become character. Next month they become destiny. The future is rarely shaped by dramatic moments alone. It is built through countless invisible decisions that almost nobody applauds. Right now, your soulmate is making several of those decisions. Without realizing it, they are becoming someone capable of protecting what truly matters. Perhaps that is why today's challenge appeared exactly when it did. Not to stop them, but to prepare them. Preparation often disguises itself as inconvenience. Growth frequently arrives wearing uncomfortable clothes. Wisdom rarely enters through doors labeled easy. And still, people who continue walking eventually discover that every difficult intersection carried hidden direction all along. There is another detail you have not yet considered. The person who confronted your soulmate believed certainty could be shaken through pressure. Instead, pressure revealed resilience. Pressure uncovered clarity. Pressure strengthened conviction. Imagine a tree standing through changing seasons. The strongest roots are never admired because they remain invisible beneath the ground. Yet when storms arrive, hidden roots become the reason the tree continues standing. Today's moment strengthened unseen roots. Not visible. Not celebrated. Not understood by others. But stronger than yesterday. That difference will matter sooner than anyone expects. Take a moment and imagine this scene. The day slowly moves toward evening. The noise around them becomes quieter. Your soulmate finally sits alone. No distractions. No conversations. Only stillness. In that stillness, they ask themselves one question. What kind of person do I really want to become? Notice something remarkable. They are no longer asking, what do other people expect from me? That single change alters everything. Because when purpose replaces performance, life begins unfolding from the inside outward. Perhaps you have experienced something similar. Moments when your heart quietly told you there had to be more. Moments when ordinary routines suddenly felt too small for the future waiting inside you. Those moments were never random. Neither are these. Your stories are developing in parallel. Not identical, but complementary. As one person learns courage, the other discovers patience. As one person releases old fears, the other gains deeper understanding. As one becomes ready to trust, the other becomes ready to receive. Two separate journeys. One growing direction. This is why today's unexpected confrontation matters far beyond a single afternoon. It accelerated growth that may otherwise have taken years. Time has an interesting way of responding when someone becomes willing to change. Sometimes months of uncertainty dissolve within a single decision. Doors that appeared locked begin opening naturally. People arrive unexpectedly. Conversations occur without planning. Opportunities appear where none existed before. From the outside, everything looks like coincidence. From within, it feels like perfect timing. Stay a little longer. There is another layer unfolding. Your soulmate has started noticing small reminders throughout their day. A familiar melody. A meaningful phrase. An unexpected memory. A peaceful feeling appearing for no obvious reason. These moments are not commanding them where to go. They are encouraging them to pay closer attention. Awareness always arrives before clarity. First people notice. Then they understand. Finally they act. Your soulmate is entering that second stage. Understanding. Slowly. Patiently. Authentically. They no longer feel the need to force every answer. Instead, they are learning to trust gradual revelation. That is a rare kind of strength. Many people confuse speed with progress. Real progress often moves quietly. It chooses depth over urgency. It values foundation more than appearance. Because of this inner shift, the words spoken against them earlier today have already begun losing their influence. What once echoed loudly now sounds distant. What once seemed convincing now appears incomplete. Confidence does not arrive because criticism disappears. Confidence arrives because criticism no longer defines identity. That lesson cannot be taught through comfort alone. It must be lived. Today's experience became the classroom. Your soulmate became the student. Tomorrow, they will become the example. If these words are finding you today, perhaps your own journey is asking something similar. Not for perfection. Not for certainty. Only for willingness. Willingness to remain open. Willingness to believe growth continues even when immediate evidence seems invisible. Willingness to trust that meaningful connections are strengthened by honesty rather than appearances. If this message has brought even one quiet moment of reflection into your day, consider sharing it with someone who values thoughtful conversations. And if these words continue to resonate with you, you're always welcome to leave a comment about the insight that stayed with you and subscribe so we can continue exploring these journeys together. Now return your attention to the story. Because another realization is unfolding. Your soulmate has started releasing expectations they once carried about how life was supposed to happen. They no longer insist every answer arrive immediately. They no longer demand every path remain perfectly straight. Instead, they have begun appreciating something far more powerful. Direction. Direction matters more than speed. A traveler moving slowly toward the right destination still arrives. Someone running confidently toward the wrong destination only increases the distance. Today's challenge corrected direction. Nothing more. Nothing less. That correction may become one of the greatest gifts hidden inside an ordinary-looking day. Some transformations happen loudly. Others happen so quietly that only time reveals their significance. This belongs to the second kind. Weeks from now they will remember today's encounter and smile. Not because it was pleasant, but because it became the exact moment everything quietly started changing. The remarkable part is this. They still have no idea how deeply today's lesson connects with someone they have not fully stepped toward yet. They simply feel that life is preparing them for something meaningful. Something genuine. Something worth protecting. And somewhere beyond what either of you can currently see. Another unexpected moment is already drawing closer. It will not demand attention. It will earn it. It will not arrive through chaos. It will arrive through unmistakable clarity. When that moment finally appears, today's confrontation will suddenly make perfect sense. Only then will both of you realize that what seemed like an attack on confidence was actually the beginning of extraordinary preparation, and the next chapter will uncover the first unmistakable sign that your two journeys are no longer moving separately. Before you decide this journey has revealed everything, allow yourself one more quiet moment. The most important part has never been the confrontation itself. It has always been what that single moment awakened afterward. What seemed like an interruption was, in truth, an invitation to see life from an entirely different perspective. Your soulmate woke the next morning expecting to feel exactly the same. But something was different. Not dramatic. Not obvious. Just enough to notice. The world outside looked unchanged, yet their inner world carried a new kind of calm. The opinions that once echoed loudly had become strangely quiet. The uncertainty that usually followed difficult moments no longer held the same weight. Instead, one thought continued returning. There has to be more ahead than what I've already seen. Sometimes hope returns without asking permission. It simply arrives. That quiet hope became the beginning of everything that follows. Your soulmate started paying attention to details they would normally overlook. They noticed how certain conversations seemed to arrive at exactly the right time. They found themselves smiling at simple moments instead of rushing past them. Even ordinary routines began carrying an unusual sense of purpose. Life had not suddenly become easier. It had become clearer. There is an important difference. Easy moments often disappear without changing us. Clear moments remain with us forever. The unexpected challenge they experienced stripped away distractions that had been covering their true direction. It reminded them that the future belongs to people who keep moving with honesty, even when every answer has not yet appeared. Think about your own journey for a second. How many times have you believed nothing important was happening, only to discover later that those quiet days were preparing you for something unforgettable? Preparation rarely feels exciting while it is happening. Only in hindsight do we recognize its value. That is exactly where your soulmate now stands. Every hour since that encounter has been gently reshaping the way they see themselves. They are becoming more patient, more thoughtful, more intentional. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen?" they have started asking, "What can this teach me?" That single question opens doors that frustration never can. And once those doors begin opening, new possibilities enter naturally. Without realizing it, your soulmate has already begun making different choices. They hesitate before reacting. They listen more carefully. They trust their intuition a little more than yesterday. Those changes may seem small. Yet history has always been shaped by small decisions repeated consistently. A mountain is climbed one step at a time. A masterpiece is painted one careful stroke at a time. A meaningful connection grows through countless quiet moments that almost nobody else notices. Your story is following the same rhythm. Not rushed. Not forced. Simply unfolding. Stay with me just a little longer. There is something your soulmate has not spoken aloud. After everything that happened, they found themselves wondering about the kind of person who would truly understand them, not the version they showed to the world, but the person they had quietly become through every challenge. For the first time in a long while, they stopped imagining perfection. Instead, they imagined authenticity. Someone who values kindness over appearances. Someone who listens before judging. Someone who brings peace instead of pressure. Without realizing it, they were imagining the kind of connection they are finally ready to build. Read that again in your heart. Not because it predicts a specific outcome, but because it reveals a timeless truth. People attract healthier relationships when they become healthier within themselves. That is the transformation taking place. Not overnight. Not through magic. Through awareness. Every sunrise now feels slightly different to them. Not because the sky has changed. Because they have. And when a person's perspective changes, opportunities that once seemed invisible begin appearing everywhere. An unexpected invitation. A meaningful coincidence. A familiar feeling that suddenly makes sense. The future often introduces itself quietly before it fully arrives. Perhaps that is why you found this message today. Not to convince you that every mystery has already been solved, but to remind you that meaningful journeys are built one faithful step at a time. The challenge your soulmate faced only minutes before this story began has already lost its power to discourage them. Instead, it has become a reminder. A reminder that resilience grows stronger than criticism. A reminder that purpose outlasts confusion. A reminder that today's uncertainty can become tomorrow's greatest source of wisdom. One day they will look back on that unexpected confrontation with gratitude. Not because it was comfortable. Because it became the moment they finally stopped letting fear decide the direction of their life. And perhaps you will do the same. Perhaps one day you will recognize that moments which seemed confusing were quietly guiding you toward greater clarity all along. So continue walking with confidence. Continue choosing patience over panic. Continue believing that meaningful growth often begins long before visible results appear. The horizon ahead is brighter than either of you can currently imagine, because both journeys are no longer defined by yesterday's doubts but by tomorrow's possibilities. Remember this final thought as this chapter closes. The encounter that appeared to threaten your soulmate did not weaken their path. It refined it. It uncovered courage they had not yet recognized. It revealed hope they thought they had misplaced. And it quietly prepared them for the next remarkable chapter. A chapter where two separate stories continue moving toward a meeting neither one can yet fully foresee, but both are becoming ready to recognize when the moment finally arrives. There is one final piece of this story that cannot be rushed. If you've stayed this far, it means something inside you values understanding more than instant answers. That quiet patience is exactly what this moment requires, because the ending is not about a dramatic revelation. It is about seeing everything that has happened through a completely different lens. By now, your soulmate has stopped asking whether that unexpected confrontation was unfair. They have begun asking why it arrived at precisely that moment. The answer did not come all at once. It revealed itself through small realizations. They remembered conversations they had once ignored. They noticed patterns they had never connected before. They understood that every challenge had quietly been encouraging them to become stronger, wiser, and more intentional. Then something remarkable happened. The weight they had been carrying for so long became lighter. Not because every problem disappeared. Because they finally realized they no longer needed to carry yesterday into tomorrow. That freedom changed everything. Imagine standing beside a river after a heavy storm. For hours, the water is cloudy. Branches drift past. The current seems restless. But eventually, the water becomes clear again. The river did not become a different river. It simply returned to its natural clarity. Your soulmate experienced something very similar. The confusion settled. The unnecessary fears drifted away. What remained was a clearer understanding of the person they were becoming. That clarity is far more valuable than certainty. Because certainty often depends on circumstances. Clarity comes from within. Perhaps this is why today's story found you. Not to predict every detail of the future. Not to promise impossible outcomes. But to remind you that meaningful change often begins with an unexpected interruption. Sometimes life gently redirects us before we even realize we were walking the wrong path. And when that happens, the interruption becomes a gift. Your soulmate has started treating every new day differently. Instead of expecting disappointment, they now expect opportunities to grow. Instead of assuming every closed door is permanent, they wonder what new path may be opening nearby. That shift in perspective has quietly transformed their entire journey. People around them may not even notice it. But those closest to them will eventually recognize a calm confidence that wasn't there before. Confidence without arrogance. Hope without illusion. Strength without hardness. Those qualities are difficult to build. Yet they often emerge after a single defining experience. The encounter that once seemed like an attack has now become one of the most meaningful teachers they have ever known. Stay with this final reflection. Every meaningful connection asks two people to become the best version of themselves, not through perfection, but through growth. Growth asks for patience. Growth asks for honesty. Growth asks us to release old stories that no longer serve us. That is exactly what your soulmate has begun doing. And perhaps, so have you. Because if these words have held your attention from beginning to end, maybe you also recognize that your future deserves to be built on awareness rather than fear. The remarkable thing about destiny is that it rarely shouts. It whispers. It nudges. It invites. Then it waits for someone willing to notice. Today, your soulmate noticed. Tomorrow, another opportunity will appear. And the day after that, another quiet step forward. Before long, those small steps become an entirely new direction. That is how extraordinary lives are built. Not through one overwhelming moment. Through countless faithful choices made when nobody else is watching. If this journey gave you even one new way to see your own path, consider sharing it with someone who might appreciate a message of hope. And if you'd like to continue exploring stories like this together, you're warmly invited to leave a comment with the thought that stayed with you the longest and subscribe so you won't miss the next chapter. As this story comes to a close, remember one final truth. The title spoke of an unexpected attack. But the deeper story was never about the challenge itself. It was about the resilience it uncovered. It was about the wisdom it awakened. It was about the quiet courage that emerged when everything else seemed uncertain. Your soulmate did not lose themselves in that moment. They found a stronger version of who they had always been becoming. And perhaps the same invitation now belongs to you. Walk forward with confidence. Choose kindness even when life feels complicated. Trust the steady progress that cannot always be measured. Because the most meaningful chapters are rarely written in moments of comfort. They are written when ordinary people quietly choose hope over hesitation, purpose over fear, and tomorrow over yesterday. This chapter ends here. But the journey toward greater clarity, deeper connection, and a brighter future has only just begun.